Hello, everybody. Zongetsu 134 here.
And I'm Average Joe Squad, as always.
Welcome to another Spidiness episode of this year's
Review the Hyphen.
Welcome to another of this year's Spidiness for Remember the Hyphen, the show where we look at comic books, movies, and everything in between. And once a year, we do a whole month dedicated to Spider-Man.
I came prepared. I brought Airheads. Bought the whole box.
Yeah, Riley wasn't too happy with you doing that, but
Guess what? Riley isn't the manager of that store, so he can get over it.
It's true. So, just a real quick before we get started with tonight's episode, I do apologize that the last episode
Ended so abrupt.
Yeah, it turns out the YouTube.
My camera crashed.
Yeah, the YouTube app was like overloading it. So.
Yeah, so I ended up having to delete the YouTube app. I'm gonna have to reinstall it later, but I don't know. It takes up like 25 gigs. I don't know why. It's like it balloons.
I feel like it had something to do with us uploading.
Maybe.
Like I almost wonder if it like it has like an uploader. It uploads when you start using the uploader. But regardless, we're here now.
Back in business.
Back in business. And tonight's episode we're doing is kind of a little interesting because we've been doing episodes and others. So this one we're going to talk about the other spider characters that are related to the Spider-Man's mythos. So, like your various other characters. And for the first character we're going to talk about the very first spider character they made after Peter, Spider-Woman. And we're also going to talk about the other Spider-Women because...
I was about to say which one.
Yeah. So, I want to say it was like the 70s. I want to say it was at least
the 70s?
A few years after Peter had gotten started. Mm-hmm. More or less, Spider-Woman was created because they didn't want to lose the copyright on the term Spider-Woman. Because, Batman had Batwoman, Batgirl, Superman had Superwoman, Supergirl. It just made sense to, have a female spider character. Which enters one Jessica... Is her last name Drew? Yeah, one Jessica Drew. The daughter of a scientist...
You don't know that, you casual.
There's like seven or eight different Jessicas in the Marvel Universe. Go fuck yourself.
Fucking yourself, you coward.
Challenge accepted. But, yeah. And so, Jessica was basically experimented on by her dad. Because I want to say, he worked for an organization that actually was trying to use her to be yet another experiment to recreate the super soldier serum from Captain America.
Yeah.
But basically, he gave it to his daughter because, I think he knew they were going to kill him. So he gave her the serum to give her a fighting chance to fight these guys.
Well, I believe it was she got bit by a spider.
Oh yeah.
And it poisoned her.
Yeah, and so he gave her the antidote in the hope it would act like an antidote.
Yeah.
Which gave her superpowers, the ability to climb up walls.
Fucking fly.
I thought that was a costume
thing,
yeah.
I'm pretty sure. But Venom Blast.
The Venom Blast, which is, it's kind of like Miles Morales' Venom sting, but instead it projects like an energy.
The spider pheromones.
Oh yeah, she has the ability to attract men. Yeah. She's also not the first spider character we're going to talk about tonight the only spider character that has that.
Yeah.
But we'll get to her. And all around, she more or less doesn't have really any other ties to Spider-Man other than she has spider-like abilities. And
she gets annoyed at people insinuating they're connected.
Yeah. Which is hilarious. And then Spider-Verse connects them anyways because I think honestly Marvel realized how stupid it was to kind of keep them separated. So,
yeah.
I'm not saying Spider-Woman shouldn't have her own, stuff, but, more or less she just... It just made no sense for her to not. And pretty much every other Spider-Woman would be very tied to Peter in some way, shape, or form. But yeah, Jessica is interesting. I like her, but, she kind of, I actually think she has more of the problems that Carol has, where she just kind of causes her own problems, more or less.
Yeah, I can kind of see that.
I actually think more so than Carol, because Carol kind of gets shafted a lot.
Carol gets fucked by bad writing.
Yeah, that too.
I'm looking at you, Civil War 2. I don't want anybody defending that shit in the comments. That story sucks.
Jessica as well, because I don't think Jessica really had a lot of great stories until Spider-Woman Agent of S.W.O.R.D., where they made her much more interesting and have a character stuff. That's kind of all I know about Jessica, sadly, just because I don't really read a lot of Spider-Woman material.
Well, we don't see them as much. Remember when we went up to half price books and I found like one or two, I bought them because I'm like, I don't see these.
Yeah.
I mean, she has her own Marvel Masterworks series,
Yeah.
but those are expensive as hell.
Well, that like she had an issue or like a series for a while, but it didn't do very well. Then she, I think, kind of just went into miniseries a lot.
Now she has another series now, so.
She also became a member of the New Avengers around the same time Spider-Man did, which is where the pheromone thing came from. And everyone's like, and she's like, I should just let you all guys know right now, I have pheromones that make men attracted to me. And I love it because every single guy in there was like, thank God. I thought, oh my God. And then Peter's like, I mean, I love my wife. I'm like,
It's okay.
Peter, easy.
It's okay. We all understand.
Because you're married. doesn't
Everybody
mean-
loves your wife.
Yeah, like, what the hell do you mean by that? But yeah, like, and to be very, like not only does that, but like Jessica, I think has been depowered a couple times because they don't know what to do with her, which leads into the second Spider-Woman. I don't know her last name. I just know her.
Sarah Carpenter.
Yeah, Sarah Carpenter. And her daughter Julie. I think she was actually one of the first female superheroes that was like a single mom. I want to say she was
I'm pretty
created.
sure Jessica is now too.
Oh yeah, Jessica is now too. She was pregnant in one of the. Yeah, she was pregnant right after the Secret Wars.
Yeah, that's one of those trades I have.
Yeah. She was also technically the Skrull Queen because during Secret Invasion it was revealed that the Skrull Queen was possessing her, or well, not possessing her, but mimicking her. Because I know that because like she was actually I think dead for a while thanks to that.
Now she is the new Madam Web.
No, I'm not talking about Julia.
Oh, you're not talking about
or
Julia?
Sarah. I'm talking about actually Jessica.
Oh, Jessica.
Yeah, because Jessica was the Skrull Queen during Secret Invasion.
Sorry, I thought you had moved on.
No,
to
sorry,
Sarah. My bad.
No, I kind of jumped back, but I actually know almost nothing about Sarah. I want to say she was actually given the same formula that Jessica had, but I mostly know her for being a member of Iron Man's Force Works team. She is also the reason why the Spider-Man's black costume looks like it does. Because she had actually came onto the scene around the same time that Secret Wars was going to happen. And basically Peter had known about her, and so when he pulled the symbiote out of the machine that he got it from, the symbiote created the costume based on his thoughts about the second Spider-Woman, which gave her... oh no, her name is Julia. Okay, her daughter's Sarah. So, my bad.
You got it mixed up. I thought that was the case. I couldn't remember.
Yeah, Julia Carpenter. But basically,
She's also a member of Avengers West Coast.
Oh, yeah, she was. But that's only because, like, after Force Works fell apart, I think they got absorbed into Avengers. But yeah, I know a little bit about her, but, like, I know more about, like...
I've never really seen her in anything.
Yeah, because, like, she really was only Spider-Woman for a brief time from, like, the 80s to, like, the 90s when, well, the next Spider-Woman came along, but we'll talk about her, because she's her own sack of mess, and to talk about her, we're going to have to talk about another Spider character, so buckle up. But yeah, I mostly know her from, like, being, like, a member of the Avengers, like you said, being in Force Works, and her first appearance on television, which was the Iron Man TV show, which took a lot from the Force Works comics. There she kind of was dating Tony, or had a thing for Tony. I don't think that was how it was in the comics, because in the comics she did date a lot. I did like that she had, like, her daughter, and her daughter
Her first
knew.
appearance was also during Secret Wars.
Oh, it was during Secret Wars?
Issue number 6, October 1984.
Oh,
In the Shadows. Also shows up in Secret Wars Volume number 1, issue number 7, November 1984.
Okay.
Created by Jim Shooter.
Well, that's probably why I don't know anything about her. Because Jim Shooter's not exactly someone I go to for that sort of thing. Yeah, do you have anything to add about her?
Not really, because again, I don't know that much about her. I've never really seen her in anything.
Yeah.
Like I know of her, because, I mean, she shows up in The Crossing, which I'm reading right now. But like, that's honestly like the first story I've ever really seen her in where she's Spider-Woman. I'm a little more familiar with her as Madam Web.
Yeah. Basically, after the events of Grim Hunt, the original Madam Web was killed, and in doing so, she passed on her clairvoyance abilities to Julia. And in doing so, Julia took up the mantle as Madam Web and gave her costume to another spider character named Aranya, which we will get to. But I kind of wanted to do these in order because I know more about a lot of the later characters than we do. So, I guess since the next Spider-Woman is tied to this character, do you want to talk about Madam Web next? And her granddaughter, Maddie?
Yeah, we can do that. I was about to say Maddie is the next one, so 'cause I actually just pulled up a list.
So, Madam Web, before we go into it, was a character created by Marv Wolfman? Yeah, Marv Wolfman, during his very infamously bad run of Spider titles. Basically, because like, someone say it was Roger Stern or no, I take that back. It was Marv Wolfman then Denny O'Neil. She was created by Denny O'Neil. Marv Wolfman actually did a really great run of Spider titles. Like it felt like he was moving things forward. Mm-hmm. Like he had the whole thing where Mary Jane and Peter Parker broke up again. He introduced Black Cat. Peter actually finally graduated from his graduate degree. He graduated from college finally. He like a lot of things were happening. It felt like stuff was moving. Then Denny O'Neil came along and just completely destroyed any traction Marvin made. Like, Peter finally had quit the Daily Bugle in Marv Wolfman's run. He ended up going back to work at the Daily Bugle. Basically, he just destroyed all of that.
Basically just backtracked.
And in doing so, he created the character Madam Web. Okay, Madam Web was an elderly woman who had the ability to see into the future. Unfortunately, she has a lot of health issues. And so to keep her alive, her husband, who I think passed away shortly after finishing this, created this thing called the Web Life Support System. It's basically that chair she sits in. It's a life support system that allows her body to be able to be alive. Without it, she basically goes into like seizures that will kill her.
According to this, her disease is known as, and I'm going to butcher this, so I apologize. This is Asthenia gravis.
Asthenia gravis, okay.
Which basically is just like long-term neuromuscular disease that leads to varying degrees of skeletal muscle weakness.
Okay, I didn't know.
Usually affects the eyes, face, and swallowing. Can result in double vision, drooping eyelids, trouble talking, trouble walking.
Okay. See, I didn't know her. She actually had like a real illness. Like I just didn't know that like they actually gave her the name of an actual illness.
Yeah.
But yeah, basically the support system I think allows her to operate her body without. Because I know like there's been a couple stories where someone has forcibly pulled her out of her life support system, and it's nearly killed her. I don't mind Madam Web. The problem with me is she's basically just a character that tells Spider-Man stuff he needs to do. And I feel like that takes a little bit of like Spider-Man's own like need to act out of it. Then she's one of those clairvoyancy characters that constantly talks in fucking riddles and hints instead of just telling Peter what he needs to do. And to be fair, I don't completely despise the character. I just find her kind of unnecessary because, like, if I wanted to see Peter talk to an old lady, I just have her talk to him.
But now we're going to get a Madam Web movie from Sony.
Wait, what?
Did you not know about this? We talked about this.
Oh.
September 2019, Sony announced that a Madam Web movie is in development.
Why? She can't do anything. She literally just...
Because it's part of the Sony Pictures universe of Marvel characters.
You had to ruin my night.
You're welcome.
But really the only story I know her mostly in, and it's one of my favorites actually, is Nothing Can Stop the Juggernaut. Basically, the Juggernaut and his partner, I can't think of his name. Something black.
Well, that's specific.
Well, basically, they wanted to use her for some reason, and so basically, the whole story is about Spider-Man trying to protect Madam Web from the Juggernaut, which eventually leads into this scene where the Juggernaut pulls her out of her life support system and she almost dies of a seizure until Spider-Man manages to get Madam Web away from the Juggernaut and put into her life support system. And to be fair, nothing inside the Juggernaut's really great. It's probably one of my favorite Spider-Man stories, just because it really shows how much like Spider-Man can do, and like watching him never give up. The other place I know Madam Web from is from Spider-Man the Animated Series, where she was kind of guiding Peter because she was working for the Beyonder in that story.
That's really where I know her from. Like, that was how I was introduced to her, was through the animated series.
Which the show gives her a lot more powers. Like, they try to make her look like she's,
like a Herald of Galactus.
yeah, or like, that new god from the New Gods, the one with the chair. I can't think of his name. Oh, Metron. Because he has, like, this chair that allows him to, like, all go through dimensions and stuff. Which Madam Web doesn't do that. Also, fun fact, she's voiced by Stan Lee's wife in that show. Which is why when she meets Stan in that universe, Madam Web's like, my, he sounds like such a handsome fellow. But like I said, there's a lot of problems with Madam Web, and mostly it's just, like I said, she just kind of doesn't do anything. What are your thoughts on
Just, again, only really knowing her from the animated series, because I haven't really read that much stuff with her in it. She's okay.
you know,
Not exactly the most memorable of characters, but like,
you know,
I mean, she is one of the first that comes to mind when I think Spider-Verse people, so.
yeah. She's also the guide in Shattered Dimensions,
Yeah.
because she guides the Spider-Man.
Is that a pig?
Is that a cartoon pig?
Focus. I'm like, Jesus. Also, fun fact, Mayday shows up in that cinematic.
Yeah, actually she does. So this brings us to the next Spider-Woman, who is actually Madam Web's granddaughter, one Maddie Franklin. Her origin is convoluted as shit.
And she's also dead in the comics now.
Yeah, she died during Grim Hunt along with Madam Web, which I feel bad for, but the problem is, like, Maddie really never went anywhere. Like, they had her introduced, and then they just never did anything with her.
Yeah.
Not helped by the fact that Jessica managed to get a lot of popularity with her very popular and beloved Spider-Woman Agent of Sword mini.
Yeah.
Basically, Maddie and Madam Web, I almost said Aunt May.
There is an Aunt May that is a spider person.
Yeah, there is. But basically, Madam Web and Maddie Franklin are drawn to this thing called the Gathering of Five, which also includes Norman Osborn and a couple other people, but I don't remember their names. Basically, they have this thing that is in 5 pieces, and when all 5 pieces are put together, the ceremony comes out and it gives 5 gifts, but it gives it randomly to each person. And so you're thinking, like, one will give you the gift of power, one I think gives the gift of youth, which I think Madam Web actually gets because she wanted to restore her youth, which is why she joined this for some reason. Long story short, Norman Osborn was given the gift of madness because he was a part of this ritual, and Maddie was given the gift of power, which gave her spider people some for some reason. Like, I don't know why it gave her spider powers. It probably had some...
The writers helped her
The
out.
writers. Because, like, at this point, like, Julia, I think, was no longer Spider-Woman for a time. Jessica, they did nothing with. So they made yet another Spider-Woman. And her powers are weird because, like, they're kind of closer to, like, Peter's organic powers, like when he was the other. She also has the ability to sprout these spider legs from her back, which I think is actually why a lot of people didn't really gravitate to her, because she had these really weird powers.
Yeah.
Her costume was lame, and she's very much a 90s character, which is like she talked like a Valley girl, and she kind of had no responsibility with her powers for a time. And that's about all I know about her. I'm sorry, like, our knowledge of Spider-Woman isn't that much, but, like, they're not really that interesting of characters.
For me, it's just I wish more of their stuff was like I think they're interesting. I just wish their stuff was a little more readily available.
That too. There's actually a fourth
especially with me, where I'm like, I want the physicals. I don't want to read it online.
There's actually a fourth Spider-Woman who's a bad guy, and they did nothing with. She was like a villain for Maddie's book. I think she showed up occasionally in Spider-Man's book, but that's about it with her.
So, Gwen, because Gwen's technically a Spider.
Oh yeah, yeah, Spider-Gwen, which thanks to Spider-Verse, she's from a universe where what if Gwen got bit by the spider?
Earth 65.
Yep, Earth
Also,
65.
Apparently, in an upcoming miniseries, Mary Jane is Carnage in that,
Oh, okay.
which I guess makes sense because Gwen has like the Venom symbiote.
Yeah, well, that it's kind of a reference to the fact that in the Ultimate Universe, Gwen was Carnage.
Yeah.
So, basically, she was bitten by the spider. Her story's a little different because whereas she managed to save her dad from a burglar, unfortunately, her best friend Peter Parker wanted to be a hero like her, so he created this formula that would give him lizard-like powers, sadly turning him into that universe's version of the lizard. And Gwen didn't know that he was the lizard at the time, and when she fought him, basically the formula wore off and it killed him, which caused Gwen to take it basically made her so that she kind of closed herself off from a lot of people. But she became that world's Spider-Woman, and basically that's how she learned with great power must come great responsibility. And so she first appeared during the Spider-Verse event, which I remember a lot of people, even though if they didn't like that story, they love Spider-Gwen. And a lot of it has to do with the fact her costume looks great. Like
It's different than any other.
Yeah, it is very
Spider
unique.
costume.
It's white. It has highlights of pink, a kind of lavenderish black. She wears ballet flats because she took ballet as a child, and she uses those in her boots. She's probably one of the few Spider people that I like having a hood that's just a part of her costume. It really gives her this almost kind of ghostly look, hence why a lot of times she's given the nickname of Ghost Spider. Mostly because they don't want to call her Spider-Woman for some odd-ass reason. I guess this is confusing. Like, I personally just call her Spider-Gwen because that's the name of her book. Like, I know in universe she's Spider-Woman, but I just call her Spider-Gwen.
Yeah, it's just, I think most people do. It's just easier.
Or when she's possessed by the symbiote, she's called Gwenom. Which, that is the most hilarious, dumb name, but I love it so much just because it's just Gwenom. And so basically, she has more or less just the same powers as Peter. Actually, no, does she have web shooters or does she have, like, organic?
Originally, I think she had web shooters, and then after she lost her powers, before she got the symbiote.
Okay.
So when because she has the symbiote now, it's all obviously organic.
Yeah. Because I want to say I thought Peter built the web shooters in that universe for her. I just couldn't remember. And I like the character. She's really great. She's a little different from Peter in that she's kind of more like a Mary Jane character, just in like terms of personality.
Yeah.
I really liked her in Enter the Spider-Verse, the movie, where they really kind of made her more like Emma Stone's character. But I think that worked for that character because
Yeah.
like she just.
Well, that's what a lot of people think of when they think of Gwen in like
Yeah.
the modern era.
I also really like her haircut in that. I know it's because like Miles.
You're not allowed to like that haircut.
I know Miles isn't allowed to like her haircut. I like the haircut. Like I like the long hair with the fade on the side. It was kind of cute. And I pretty much that's all we can really say about Spider-Gwen because she really doesn't have a lot of other stories outside of Spider-Verse, sadly.
Yeah. So move on to a couple other ones. How about let's talk about Ben, Marvel's favorite whipping boy anymore.
So Ben Reilly.
Also known as Clone.
Yeah. Ben Reilly was the clone that was introduced in the original saga back in the 70s. He was created to be the perfect clone of Peter Parker. After the events of that story, he was presumed dead, and so Peter, to make sure nothing really complicated happened, just simply threw the corpse into a furnace. Unfortunately, the clone woke up at that point, and due to events that basically made him all mopey and sad, he realized he was the clone and created the moniker of Ben Reilly. Ben coming from Uncle Ben, Reilly is Aunt May's maiden name.
And he just kind of picked up and bailed, basically.
Yeah.
He traveled, it's mentioned in the lost years, like he traveled the country a lot.
Well, a lot of it was because he didn't want to really give Peter grief. The other being he didn't feel it was fair to stay there because the memories he had weren't really his. Which I always hate that with clones. Like, yeah, I know the memories are fake because you're a clone, but like, what else do you have? You might as well have them.
Yeah.
And so Ben stayed in like roaming around the country, particularly Utah, for about 5 years after his creation. I say that because that's all we know. Because like
They've never elaborated on it anymore.
yeah, the others they like to try and make it feel like 5 years is a long time, which 5 years is not a long time. But basically because like by the time they actually did the second Clone Saga, 20 years in real time had actually passed. But because they can't have Peter be like 60 something, he's only 5 years. And so basically he stuck around for a while, mostly because he wanted to help sort things out with Peter. And then
Plus he came back because Aunt May was sick.
Oh yeah, because Aunt May was dying at the time. Don't worry, she got better.
Oh, because it's revealed that wasn't actually Aunt May, that was an actress.
Yeah.
Employed by Norman Osborn, and again, more weird retcons because we can't just let people stay
Yeah.
dead. Except Uncle Ben, we gotta keep Uncle Ben dead.
And so Ben basically realizing that if he's going to keep doing the superhero thing, he needs a costume, particularly one that differentiates himself from Peter. And so he created his first costume, which was a red jumpsuit with a hoodie, which the Daily Bugle dubbed him the Scarlet Spider.
Which I really like that costume.
No, I like that costume a
My
lot.
favorite part of it, and I'm glad it carried over to someone we're going to talk about later,
Yeah.
which is the outside web shooters.
Oh yeah. No, the outside web shooters are great. Basically, they're supposed to like. It's kind of implied that they're like an older model of web shooter, and so like, they have to be on the outside. I think it's also kind of implied that
Well,
because
that on the outside has extra.
yeah, the extra pods, and some of which contain his impact webbing, which he created. Ben is actually the creator of impact webbing and spider stingers, which are these little needles that I think have like an anesthetic or something on it. Sadly, Peter never uses the stingers much anymore. I think he still uses the impact webbing. Or at least
It's in the PS4 game.
at least the
so
video
definitely-
games remember it.
I love impact webbing.
And then later on, when Peter believed he was the clone, he gave up the title of Spider-Man to Ben, and he was Ben for
Couple years.
a couple years. Well, yeah, a couple years. Basically, Ben is actually where Mayday gets her costume, which is because his costume is very different from the traditional Spider-Man. It's a solid red. Well, actually, you can just. Imagine this on a man. So, like, pretend the boobs aren't there and widen out the body because it's the 90s. I really like that costume. Like, I love the gloves with the different colored fingies. And I like the oddness of, like, the boots being blue on the inside and with the red on the...
When I was a kid, I always liked this costume, and I still
No, it's a
do
really
because
nice costume.
It's different.
Yeah. I think what made it work was that they kept the mask the same, but, like, changed the suit.
Yeah.
Like, so it didn't really bother me that
I like the huge wraparound.
No,
spiders.
the wraparound spider's great. Like, I feel like he kind of picked that up from Venom. Because, like, I love Venom's
Well, that's one of the first things. When he shows up as Scarlet Spider, he beats the living shit out of
Oh,
Venom.
my God. That is one of my favorite stories. Because, like, okay. So,
He
basically...
just says, he's like, well, if Peter won't do it, I'm going to
Yeah.
fucking do it.
Well, that... to get a little context, because The Life of Riley, that was actually them kind of trying to actually say that Peter was the clone. Because at one point, they decided that Ben was going to be the original Spider-Man. Because at the time...
Decided. We're making this shit up as we go.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, they were making shit up, but they were like, nah, he's the original. Which I'm like... But so basically, they did that because they were like, at that point, Peter had never beaten Venom on his own. In fact, I don't think he ever beat Venom on his own until like the 20-aughts. Basically, they were like, he made a deal with Venom to like stay away from each other. He let this maniac just roam free. And so they were like, well, yeah, we'll have Ben do it because Ben would actually be able to do it. And you know, Ben probably wouldn't also make a deal with the devil, which must mean he's the original. But yeah, his fight with Venom is actually probably one of my favorite parts of the Clone Saga. I know a lot of people are like, well, it's kind of bullshit if Peter couldn't. I'm like, yeah, but like, it's bullshit that Peter can't beat Venom on his own ever. Like, yeah, Venom is stronger than him, but Peter is smarter.
Kindred is actually Ben Reilly. The original Ben Reilly.
I mean, if they did that, I probably wouldn't mind, but I kind of doubt
I'd be
it.
like, damn it, can we stop making Ben a villain?
Well, it could be that Ben is possessed by Peter, and that's how they finally fix Ben. Yeah, I guess we should probably bring this up too.
Mention how he died first.
Okay, and so basically Ben sadly died at the end of the Clone Saga, mostly because the writers didn't want any, like, basically they wanted to show him dying just so that he would disintegrate from clone generation. So that, you knew without a doubt Peter was the original. And so Ben dies helping Peter fight the Green Goblin, who had came back at this time and revealed himself to be the actual guy behind this Clone Saga. And basically Ben and Peter fight, and Ben gets the shit beaten out of him by both, I think, he first got beat up by this guy called Gaunt, who was actually Mendel Strom, alias the robot inventor, alias the Tinkerer, alias Gaunt. And then to make matters worse, Ben also got the shit beat out of him by the Goblin during the fight between him and Peter. After Peter managed to beat the Goblin tried the old, I'm going to telepathically control my Goblin glider to impale Peter. And Peter distracted, because he was exhausted and distracted by, he had Goblin. Ben managed...
Mary Jane's giving birth.
Oh yeah, Mary Jane's giving birth.
So it's like, he's got a lot going on.
Basically, the glider...
It's also revealed that, Norman's basically like, you're the actual one, like, you still believe you're the clone.
Yeah. And so basically, the glider almost kills him, but Ben, seeing the glider, pushes Peter out of the way, and he sadly gets impaled and dies. As much as I don't like the fact that Ben dies, I at least like that he went out, like, on a heroic note.
Yeah, he went out as a hero, basically.
Like, protecting his brother. And to be fair, that was actually one of the sadder parts of the Clone Saga, aside from Mary Jane's miscarriage, was that, like, Peter lost his brother.
Yeah.
But then, of course, thanks to the fact that the Clone Saga is a sour note for Marvel, they pretend it didn't happen.
Yeah, then they bring him back during fucking dumbass clone conspiracy where he's the Jackal, which is fucking dumb. That entire storyline is honestly one of the dumbest fucking things ever committed to paper.
We probably are going to have to just...
I have it.
Yeah.
Again, I would have to read it.
Yeah, I know.
And it would probably take me as long as it is the fucking crossing, because I'm going to have to keep stopping myself from chucking it across the fucking room because of how dumb it is.
I know. Okay.
But hey, it's our fault it didn't sell.
What's that?
It's our fault it didn't sell.
Yeah. Well, I mostly want to talk about Clone Conspiracy just because, like, I want to talk, like, in my opinion, that's, like, Dan Slott's worst thing. But
He has just one?
he has a lot of worse
I
things.
thought his whole career was bad.
Okay. Imagine you're eating an ice cream cone and, like, someone took a shit on it while you're eating it. This would be, like, the final diarrhea leaky shit that comes out on top.
What are we, AVGN now? We're going to start making these kind of jokes?
It's
supposed to be a family-friendly show, man.
Yeah.
You jolly old fuck.
I mean, like that time you brought up the Zodiac porno?
Listen, we're going to review that. That's going to be a Patreon award.
Oh, God. So basically, they kind of, at this point, credit where credit's due, Dan at least wanted to acknowledge the Clone Saga. Like, he actually brought up Kane, who they hadn't used since the Clone Saga. Like, he brought Kane back. He kind of brought up some history with Ben, like with the character Raptor, who I think was yet another Peter Parker clone. Only he was infected with dinosaur DNA, so he could, like, turn into a dinosaur. I never really got the deal with Raptor. But basically, someone was killing off these characters and cloning them, which had something to do with the carrion virus, I think. And basically, during all this, there's cloning involved, and this mysterious man wearing an Egyptian jackal mask was running around in a suit. Pretty much everyone thought it was the Jackal.
Yeah, that was Miles Warren again. To which we're all like, oh, god damn it, not again.
Well, that, and especially because, like, Spider Island had brought the Jackal back to life. So I was like, okay, it's just the Jackal. And then it was revealed that it was actually Ben Reilly. And
were you reading this while it came out, or was this when you had stopped?
This was after I'd stopped. I actually learned about this from reading, like, the issues as they were coming out on the Spider-Man Crawl Space website. Mm-hmm. And also learned a huge amount of it from back issues, or Comic Pop back issues, where they reviewed the Clone Conspiracy. And I actually thought it was supposed to be, like, implying that, like, the Jackal created a clone of Ben, and that he was inside the Ben clone. No, it's just Ben went crazy from dying at the end of the original, of the Clone Saga, and being brought back to life by the Jackal. So he went crazy. He was like, well, I'll just kill people and clone them and bring back their dead loved ones via cloning. And if you don't agree with me, I'm going to destroy the world using the carrion virus.
Which makes no fucking sense, but okay.
Yeah. Which also led to Kane, which I guess we'll have to talk about Kane too, but who is a good guy at this point.
Get there when we get there.
Yeah, I know. Who is a good guy at this point and was taking up the mantle of the Scarlet Spider because Peter beats Ben, but Ben manages to get away, and Peter wants nothing to do with Ben because at this point Peter's being an asshole for no fucking reason, which happens a lot in Dan Slott's interpretation of the character. Like, because he gets mad at, like, Spider-Gwen because she's helping Kane because of, like Web Warriors and Spider-Verse shit. And so he basically just tells Spider-Gwen to fuck off and Kane to fuck off too because, like, she's trusting Kane more than him because, like, they believe Peter's gonna cause, like, a great disaster that will kill all the other Spider characters.
Jesus Christ.
Which leads into Spider-Geddon.
People defend Slott, and I don't understand.
Which I think later it turns out it wasn't actually Peter, but the clone body of Peter that Dr. Octopus was in to yet again bring back the superior Spider-Man.
Jesus Christ.
That
fucking storyline.
Which I guess we'll have to talk about Superior too.
No, because that doesn't count. I'm sorry, that doesn't fucking count. Because it's still Peter's body. It doesn't count.
I mean, fair.
Plus, I don't want to talk about that shit. I don't like that storyline.
Yeah, we're gonna have to probably review it at some point.
I know we will, but
I mean, I have it, so I'll let you borrow it. I have to read it still, but
I'm sure they'll come out with a Marvel hardback on it. Because I would like to just buy those anymore.
But basically, this led to Kane being like, I'm gonna hunt down Ben and kill him, which I'm like, so now he's regressed back to like 90s Kane, where he just wanted to kill Ben. Which led into the Scarlet Spider series that ran on, which also put Ben in that shitty looking Scarlet Spider costume he had, it had a mouth. I'm like, first of all, you never put a mouth on a spider character, unless they have like a face hole.
Yeah.
You don't do that. Which thankfully, that was hated so much, they actually gave him his old Scarlet Spider costume, because they're like, no, that looks like shit. You're gonna fix this. Apparently that book is actually really well received, because they actually fix Ben.
I've heard that. I haven't read it.
And also they make it.
I think it's out of print right now.
I think it is out of print. I want to say it ended thanks to COVID, but it's just a mess. Like, I feel so bad for Ben because like you said,
he doesn't deserve this.
Yeah, because like people think he's like the worst part of that story, and I'm like, he's really not though.
Ben's one of the better parts. I've always liked Ben.
Yeah, and speaking of the other character that I really like from Clone Saga, let's talk about Kane. Do you want to lead off with Kane?
So Kane is another clone of Peter, and
I think he's considered the first clone that like Miles ever made.
Yeah, and he's got a lot of scars because he's degenerating, right? Mm-hmm. So like, but he's got like this like really sinister looking purple and black costume.
You know, I'm gonna look up because that suit rocks.
I want a Marvel Legend of that figure. I'd buy that in a
same.
heartbeat because that suit's awesome. But so at the beginning when he shows up in Clone Saga, he goes around killing a couple of villains. Like he kills Grim Hunter, he kills Doc Ock, a couple other ones.
I think he kills like one of the Scorpion clones.
I think it was a good thing. Yeah, sorry, I'm losing my ability to talk for a minute. One of Kane's really interesting abilities that gets brought up later because Annie has it. Annie Parker from Renew Your Vows is
he looks like this. Look how fucking badass that is.
Badass. I want to figure that.
The suit's actually supposed to like slow down the degeneration and ease the pain. But
he has the ability to kind of like, he has like a premonition ability, like he can see kind of flashes and stuff.
Yeah.
Because remember one of the big stories in Clone Saga is that he keeps having visions like Mary Jane dying,
which doesn't go anywhere because they actually drop that. To give you a little explanation of why he has the ability to see in the future. Due to the degeneration, it somehow powers up all of Peter's abilities and gives him like super versions of it. Another one is his ability to cling to things is so powerful. It can leave marks when he removes the hand. It's called the
mark of Cain.
Yeah, the mark of Cain. When he kills people, he leaves that mark. But anyway, you continue.
Yeah, and so Cain, he was a villain initially, and then they brought him back later as the Scarlet Spider, and he has a really cool red and black suit that it's in the PS4 game.
I love that.
I really love that suit. I really want to read that run at some point. I know you have it.
Yeah,
I'd like to find my own copies of it, but I know you said part of it's out of print.
It's great.
Probably have to get lucky, like maybe Books A Million has it.
It's really great. The problem was, it was running against Superior Spider-Man, which A, was running in the main Spider title. B, because people were fucking in love with that story. Never mind that Kane's story was way more interesting for me, just because it was a story of redemption. Okay.
Again, people were just blindly hating on Clone Saga or anything accompanying with it.
The thing with Kane was he wasn't really, in my opinion, a villain. He was kind of just an anti-villain or an anti-hero, because like
He was what Venom should have been.
the whole reason he was having such a mad on for Ben was because he thought Ben was trying to replace Peter, and Kane, who like knows his life is misery because he's gonna die sooner or later, he's like, I'm gonna use what little life I have left to try and protect Peter. And eventually he kind of comes around, becomes a good guy, which leads to him helping out Peter and Ben a lot during the Clone Saga, as well as becoming a main player in the Spider-Girl story. Because in that version of events, Mayday didn't die. She was actually kidnapped by Norman.
And Allison Morgan.
And Allison Morgan, who Ben fights and actually manages to get Mayday back and gives her back to Peter.
You mean Kane?
Or Kane, sorry. Yeah, Kane gets Mayday back.
Yeah, yeah. Let me rephrase it, because here's the thing. This has been a matter of debate because it's brought up in Real Clone Saga, which is for those who don't know, Real Clone Saga is a little miniseries that Tom DeFalco wrote.
It was an attempt
tried to kind of fix Clone Saga, fix a lot of the issues with it. And it's okay.
It does, but
it has the opposite of the actual
Yeah,
Clone
it's
Saga.
too
It's
short.
too fucking short.
It's a
whereas
6-issue
the actual
miniseries.
Clone Saga is too fucking long.
Yeah, it's a 6-issue miniseries when I think it should have been 12.
Yeah.
Because, like,
I mean, it's okay, but
it is okay.
So basically what happens in the MC2 universe, and I'm not going to dive too much into it because we're going to talk about Mayday in a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, definitely. We're talking about Mayday.
Well, yeah, because we have to.
Yeah, we have to.
She's important.
I demand it.
Right. Like, I'm going to be like, nah, Colton. Fuck you. We're not doing Mayday. You had your video. Now, let me keep
Colton beats Adam's ass on camera.
Now, let me keep going back to talking about, like, stupid shit that I constantly bring up.
But anyway, so what happens is Mayday gets kidnapped by Allison Morgan. 'Cause it's thought that Mayday is dead. But she's actually kidnapped by Allison Morgan for Norman Osborn. And she's taken away to Europe.
Yeah.
Kane, who had been working with Norman, depending on which version of the story you read, and there's a lot of blending of it anymore.
Well, because I think then they change how the events went a couple times.
They don't really,
or they don't
dive way into detail with it in Spider-Girl. They do bring it up, and it is a big thing, especially later on when they introduce April, the half symbiote, half human clone of May.
Who also is friends with a couple of giant talking Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
No. God damn it, no. No TMNT shit.
I could have made a porn star joke.
No. But anyway, so Kane kind of has a change of heart, and he basically tracks down where May is.
Probably
he spends a while tracking her down, basically.
Probably with some of the other children Norman had in Europe, Gabriel and Sarah.
Stop bringing that shit up. The story is not fucking canon. I don't care what anybody says.
I know.
I'm bringing that up.
It didn't exist when Spider-Girl made so.
I don't care. It never happened. I don't care. It doesn't happen.
Hold on, I read it. I don't want.
I don't give a shit. It didn't happen.
I have to cope
One
somehow.
more day, erase that. Get out of here. And
it didn't actually.
I don't give a shit. But anyway, all the while, Peter and Mary Jane think May's dead, basically.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. That's the version we go with anymore.
Yeah.
And what happens is, which I actually might dig the issue out here in a little bit while we're talking, because I know it's in one of these.
Okay.
He basically gets word to Peter that, like, hey, I have found your daughter. Like, Norman Osborn has her.
Yeah.
To which Peter, at this point, he basically, Mary Jane and him have kind of tried to just move on.
Yeah.
But
It's been like a year, right?
A year or two. Basically, Peter gets that info, and he's like, okay, like, I'm gonna go get her. And so that leads into the final battle with Norman Osborn, where Peter loses his leg and Norman loses his life.
Yeah.
Dies because it's Norman Osborn. And that event, and basically they get May back. Again, this is where it's unclear.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's that they got May back directly from him fighting Green Goblin, or if it was that Kane got her back.
Yeah.
And then basically took a couple planes to get her back to it, which I find hilarious. Like one Kane and a baby, basically.
Or it could be like the Mandalorian with the child.
Kane bringing baby May back, which I think would be funny as all hell.
That I would love if they Because like you might have made like fanfic ideas where like welds renew your vows and like MC2 together.
It's funny too because like when April comes up,
yeah,
Peter has a big knockout brawl with Kane where basically Kane's like Peter, I know you're angry. Like Peter is pissed.
Yeah.
And he's basically like, which one's the real one, Kane? I know you're involved in this somehow. It would be just your style. And it's like,
yeah, like poor Kane.
Kane's like, look, I didn't do anything.
Yeah, poor Kane gets a lot of shit in the MC universe.
Yeah.
Because I know like May gets in a fight with him at one point because like.
Well, it's because like Peter doesn't talk about anything.
Yeah.
And so like, and basically there's a part where like she fights Kane because Kane's trying to kill the Kingpin.
Yeah. And
basically he brings up like, cause they're fighting and Kane's like, look, I never wanted to hurt you, child. That was never my intent.
Well, especially because I feel bad for Kane because like Peter just hates him, and Kane legitimately actually like
cares.
Cares.
He's like, I'm trying to help you.
Like it's one of the reasons why I was a little frustrated when they brought him back in Brand New Day because like
if I can find that.
In that Kane kind of wants to kick his ass, and it's like, but that's not really who he is.
Here he is when he first shows up.
Yeah.
Let me read you some of this stuff. So basically he's. Keep talking while I figure out what's going on.
But yeah, basically, long story short, to kind of talk about Brand New Day, Kane came back and they made him look like the bearded Kane that he was like during the Clone Saga. Later on, he actually shaves the beard off to pretend to be Peter when he is killed during the Grim Hunt to bring back Kraven.
Yeah, well, and this issue, May's kind of like talking with Dark Devil and...
Oh, her cousin.
Yeah, basically, and so...
Long story there.
Dark Devil basically tells her, like, stay away from Kane. You have neither the skill nor the power to survive an encounter with him.
Yeah, which is hilarious, because I don't think Kane would... I actually think May would take Kane just because Kane holds back with her.
Yeah, and so basically, Dark Devil fights him. Yeah, like, which is funny, because Dark Devil and Kane have a very weird relationship in these comics.
Yeah, because he's kind of like a weird, almost kind of mentor to him, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. Because basically, Dark Devil has he has the Billy Club, but it's like it has flames on it. Because
Dark Devil
tries fighting Kane with that, and Kane even brings up these flames must be a potent weapon against your average adversary. A pity they can't hurt me. Nothing can. After too many years of constant agony, my nerve endings simply stop functioning.
Which, can we talk about that?
I can't feel anything except hatred.
Like, if your nerve endings were actually shot, that's actually a bad thing, because not only do they, yes, they make us feel pain, but that pain is a way to redirect our bodies to start healing. So,
here it is. So basically, I think this is the first time, because May's been hunting Kane.
Yeah.
And this is the first time they've run into each other. Yeah. And he basically looks at her and he's like, it's been a long time, my dear, you've grown.
Yeah.
It's like, you think you know me? I don't expect you to remember you were only a babe in my arms, the wrong arms. And May's basically just like, what are you talking about?
That's actually kind of sad, because he's like, if I were the real Peter, they would be the right arms. That's actually really sad.
Yeah.
Also, if you couldn't get his name is a reference to Cain and Abel. He's supposed to be the bad brother.
And basically, so Dark Devil's fighting him, trying to he's trying to buy May time.
Yeah.
To get away, and basically Kane's just talking naivety doesn't suit you, old friend. She could no more desert her comrade in arms than her father could. And then May picks up a fucking pipe.
Yeah, just starts wailing on him.
You claim to know a lot about me and my family, and Kane's enough to know that Spider-Man would never resort to such a crude weapon.
Which I'm excuse me, I know Spider-Man, and yes,
which
you would.
May picks up, just slams him in the face with it, tough. In case you haven't noticed, I'm Spider-Girl, and I have a looser, more freewheeling style. To which Kane hits her, and he's basically like, your father would be appalled by such behavior. For all his faults, he has always been a man of honor.
Yeah.
To which again,
I've known Peter to use these kind of tactics.
How do you know my dad? In many ways, we are closer than brothers. A shame he's only, and which May brings up, shame he's an only child. Not as only as you've been led to believe. What's that supposed to mean? Ask your father. I have no wish to harm you, child. I want you to deliver a message to your father. Tell him that I, like Rumpelstiltskin, have finally returned to claim my prize.
Kane, can we talk?
Isn't he the one who... Exactly. One other thing. Please give my sincerest regards to your dear mother. Such a sweet and lovely woman.
Oh, yeah, because he really didn't want to hurt Mary Jane. Because I remember he comes to Mary Jane during Maximum
he gives May a black eye in that.
Yeah.
Which I think is why Peter initially is like, okay,
Yeah,
now I'm pissed.
Like, because Kane, like, yeah. But basically, he actually gets brought back to life because Kane is also the other. Which, long story there, basically the spider god thought Peter would be its totem. Basically, Peter rejected that. And so the spider god gives the abilities of the other to Kane, which brings him back as this, like, tarantula monster. But due to the events of Spider Island, he gets fixed, so he, I think, is no longer degenerating, but he just kind of looks like an older Peter with a beard.
Yeah.
He also has new abilities. He basically has all the abilities Peter had when he was the other. He has organic web shooters. He can see in the dark. He also has the weird stingers, which are like these blades that pop out of his wrists.
I'm looking for more of that Kane stuff. These digests are really weird.
Spiders don't have stingers. I don't know why they thought that spiders have stingers.
Yeah, so Kane's hunting Kingpin in this. That's what it is.
Hobgoblin's the kingpin in this, right?
I don't think so. They don't introduce Hobgoblin until Amazing.
Okay, I thought that, like, for some reason Hobgoblin took over as the kingpin in this universe, but I might be thinking of something else. But and that's kind of like, and so basically Kane, after Spider Island, Peter gives him this armor that can, like, or this spider costume that can change how it looks, and so. Oh yeah, it was his stealth suit, the one with the green lines.
Oh, so you got the Kingpin. He's in Rikers Correctional Facility.
Yeah, which means he's actually in control of the prison. But basically, wait, is that Dark Devil?
Yep, Dark Devil shows up.
He's too.
I know, it's just how the art's done.
I know, it's yeah. That's more of a coloring issue than the art, but yeah, and so basically, Kane is given a new suit, which gets stuck in this all red with some black outlines style, which basically lets him take on the moniker of the Scarlet Spider, where he lived in Texas for a while, fighting villains there. It's a whole thing, and I don't want to spoil too much of the story of him as the Scarlet Spider. Unfortunately, it ends pretty sadly because, like, he basically loses all of his friends and family.
Also, here's J. Jonah in MC2 universe.
Good Lord, how old is he there?
I don't know. He's still in charge of the Bugle, though.
He must be like 80 years old.
He's still there.
Is that his son that's with him there?
Don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think that's Jack.
Oh yeah, but so no, Jack's his grandson. His son is John. And so yeah, basically Kane ends up after his mini-series being a member of the New Warriors, and now he's a servant of the other and is the leader of the Web Warriors, I think, or at least was. I don't know if the Web Warriors are a thing anymore. Basically, he's a bunch of Spider-Men that go around the multiverse trying to protect other Spider-Men from stuff. And he also dies, like, all the time, because they just can't stop Kane dying and coming back to life. He comes back to life more than, like, the Joker or Mysterio. And so that's basically it for Kane. I really like Kane. I think you could probably agree that he's pretty great. Because I think there's a lot to Kane that makes him so interesting that it's kind of sad a lot of writers don't want to use him.
Okay, running real quickly. Basically, Kingpin's responsible for Dark Devil dying. And here's some more Kane with Mayday backstory. He shows up. Basically, he shows up where Peter works, and basically has Phil Urich. He's starting to give him the mark of Kane. Which Peter's like, he tells Peter's like, "Are you insane? You're in a police station. You're never gonna get away with this." And Kane's like, "I know you won't risk your lab assistant's life, Peter. I know you better."
I mean, he's right.
To which basically Peter brings up, like, "What do you want?" And Kane's like, "I originally came to New York to investigate rumors about a spider girl. Leave her alone, Kane. She doesn't concern you, doesn't she? I doubt she would have seen her first birthday if it hadn't been for me. I must confess that I've flirted with the idea of playing Rumpelstiltskin. You're even crazier than I thought, perhaps, but you needn't worry about her. I ran into an old friend who reminded me of an even greater debt. And I'm willing to trade a dead Kingpin for a live spider girl." Which I don't know what it is with that. Like, I guess he's trying to bargain.
Yeah.
So it's just, I'm trying to find more dialogue with this, because I know Kane talks about this.
Well, why don't we move on from Kane?
Yeah, keep going. I'm curious now, and I'm trying to find this.
I'm actually kind of going to move on to Spider-Girl, but...
He wants Kingpin dead because he killed Dark Devil.
Okay.
So that's why.
Gotcha. So yeah, let's move on to Spider-Girl, because like I want to talk about her and Annie at the same time, just to kind of move along, because we still got a lot of Spider characters to talk about. I don't want this to be like two hours long.
Yeah.
So as we kind of brought up, because Mayday's origins are kind of interconnected with Kane.
Also, fun fact: Jameson likes Spider-Girl.
Probably because he knows who Spider-Girl is.
Yeah.
Because he knew who... Like, I've always argued that Jameson's known Peter was Spider-Man for a very long time. But basically, Mayday is the first child of Spider-Man, the daughter of him and Mary Jane, named, of course, after Aunt May. Is Mayday her full name, or is it like a...
Mayday is a nickname.
Yeah, I figured May.
Her full name is May.
Yeah. But basically, in an alternate universe, which is known as the MC2 universe, which I think actually is like the moniker given to it, even as like its setting in the MC universe or multiverse. She was the daughter that Mary Jane and Peter were supposed to have at the Clone Saga, and basically in this universe, she is a miscarriage, basically. When Mayday was 15 years old during a basketball game, she managed to leap an insanely high into the air and shatter the glass out of the hoop. Basically, this is where her spider powers awaken. Her powers are pretty much the same as Peter's.
Also, this thing is old as fuck.
Yeah,
it's held together by binding tape.
Also has like a preview for like the Marvel Sentinel story with the broken Sentinel that some kid repairs, which I've always wanted to read because I've actually heard it's kind of good. And basically, not only did her powers activate, but the son of Liz and Harry Osborn, Normie, takes up the mantle of his grandfather, the Green Goblin, which leads Mayday to find her Uncle Ben's Spider-Man costume and take to the action as Spider-Girl, which leads into her becoming a full-time superhero. And that's just me, like, kind of... Because we talked about Spider-Girl in the previous Spider-Miss, which I actually made a playlist for the Spider-Miss on my channel.
Did you?
And I'm probably going to upload it at some point, or put it on, like, probably after this year's Spider-Miss is over, just to kind of be like, hey, do you want to watch something during the break we were going to take after this?
Yeah, and I don't think I need to say it, but like, because I think it's pretty evident, but like, May is honestly like my favorite Spider person.
That's fair.
Like, I actually like her more than Peter.
I can't blame you, because I know people that will tell me that they prefer Mayday over Peter.
Yeah. Which, also, these are the digest versions of the original series. These are out of print now.
Yeah.
Thankfully, they're not expensive because the complete collection has come out and recollecting these, so it's a little easier to get them. But since I already have those, plus I actually have the original issue 0 and issue 1 of Spider-Girl, I just like collecting these because I kind of want a whole set.
Yeah, they are nice.
Yeah, and I mean, like, and some of these are like, again, as I mentioned, some of these are old, like this. I mentioned this in the Spider-Girl episodes, so I won't retouch on it too briefly, but I bought this at a Scholastic Book Fair in like 2007. So, I mean, it's pretty beat. I mean, like, you can see there's binding tape holding it together, basically. I mean, like, the paper is pretty yellowed on this.
Yeah. Yeah, I like it, Mayday, a lot. I think it's kind of unfair that she, much like everything else about the Clone Saga, is kind of ignored by Marvel.
Yeah.
It's a little unfair because, like, her title is probably one of the most popular titles to come out of Marvel, like, in the 90s. Probably second only to, like, Deadpool or some other 90s, like, characters that were created at that time. So, I was going to say, let's move on to her sister. And then we'll talk about her brother, Benji, after that.
We also got to talk about April.
Oh, yeah, let's why don't you do April?
Let's get April out of the way real quick, just because it's kind of, so April is technically May's sister. I say technically because she's also technically a clone of May.
Yeah.
That is,
Fused with a piece of the Venom symbiote.
Yeah, basically during the Amazing Spider-Girl series, no, not during Amazing, it was during Spectacular, I think. It was, either that or it bled through both of them.
I wouldn't be surprised if it bled through both.
Basically, May had a clone that was had a clone that basically returned to New York, and they basically had a lot of parallels with. They basically had their own clone saga.
Yeah.
Except I argue it made a lot more sense.
Well, that and it. They tried to briefly say that April was the real one. I'm like, but except that she has like these weird. Like,
she has these weird powers because she's technically half symbiote.
Which makes me believe that May was, and plus, if the series kept going, we all know May was.
And I mean, obviously, she takes the name April because April, May.
May, yeah, because like her father, she can't help herself.
Well, and she claimed to be the original. She always thought she was the original. And it's funny because like a lot of the time throughout the time she shows up, she and May are always at odds with each other because April basically feels like like I was cheated out of my entire childhood because I was locked away in a test tube.
Yeah.
Well, meanwhile, this not me has had my entire life, and like it's really awkward because even though I'm here now, like my family doesn't really accept me.
Yeah.
So like she has a lot of family issues.
Which I think Peter and Mary Jane eventually accepted. Like
they try.
At least they try to.
Yeah, but it's eventually April eventually dies at the end of Spectacular Spider-Girl because she basically sacrifices herself to save May from the building blowing up.
Oh.
Well, what happened is initially it's the reverse. May throws April out of the building and blows up.
Yeah.
Right.
You
and
told
so
me about
April
this.
kind of does there's some weird time travel shit where eventually it leads into it's the opposite. April sacrifices herself to save May.
Yeah.
So.
Which, to be fair, if the series that it would kept going, I know eventually they would have just said May was the real one because it's too weird for her to be kind of like partially a symbiote. Like the fact that she can like stretch her own body, I'm like, that would make me think I was a clone.
Yeah.
But so let's move on to the other daughter of Spider-Man, who's technically Mayday's sister, technically not because they're from different dimensions, but
still
details.
technically because there's a May in Annie's verse. It's the May that passed away.
Yeah. During the event Secret War, a lot of different universes were created and brought together into Doom's battle world. One such universe was called the Renew Your Vows universe, where in this, Peter and MJ were still married, hence why it's called Renew Your Vows, because it's a play on One More Day, and yeah. And in this universe, Mary Jane's Aunt Anna died before Aunt May, so when they had their first child, well, I think it's their only child, but like
technically it's their second because
May
was technically born, but she died.
Yeah, sorry, I forgot. But in this universe, Aunt May was alive, and Aunt Anna wasn't. And so they named the daughter after Aunt Anna, which gives her the name Annie. Or I personally think Peter just did it because he really liked the Michael Jackson joke. Annie, are you okay?
What's funny, her full name is Anna May, which we keep joking like Annie Agnew really would have named it. Sounds like Anna May Parker.
Which again, Peter probably could have done. And I won't go too much into Renew Your Vows because I feel like that's another thing Luke probably will do on
because I have all of it. So.
And to be fair, the mini-series is not very good. I consider if you're gonna read it, read the original issue of the Renew Your Vows series.
It depends. The problem with that, our problem I argue with Renew Your Vows is that they did the typical, let's do a time jump.
Well, that and I don't really care for the fact that you can kind of tell in the writing because Dan Slott wrote the first mini that he's like, see, this is what actually would happen if Peter was married to Mary Jane. He'd kill people.
It's amazing he's married. I'm like, dude, your wife must be fucking miserable.
Yeah, no, I know. But basically, she is the character Spiderling, at least at the beginning. I know she's named Spiderling. Doesn't she get a different name later?
Her original name is Amp.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Her original name is Amp.
Anna May Parker. To which then they were like, no, that's fucking stupid.
You're Spiderling.
That's fucking stupid.
Because in this,
so they call her Spiderling.
Yeah, because in this universe, Mary Jane is also a spider character named
Spinneret.
Okay, I was gonna say it was Spinneret, but I thought it might have been something different.
Spinneret.
Okay.
And she doesn't actually have power. She has a suit that leeches power off of Peter, which it can have the effect of draining him.
Yeah, which I'm like, Peter, at this point, just get a spider to bite her and give her your
Well, and then at one point she gets the Venom symbiote.
Okay, I actually didn't know about that.
Oh, you didn't know about this?
No.
She gets Venom.
Oh, that's cool, and I'm assuming it's
Liz
kind of.
Allen.
I'm assuming it's kind of hot looking, if I may.
Um,
But basically, we're not talking about Mary Jane as Spinnerette.
it leads into like that. It leads into Mary Jane beating the living shit out of Venom.
Yeah.
At one point, because she's basically like, "I'm a mom. I make the fucking rules."
But my favorite part of her Spinnerette is these two kids she rescues, and they call her Spider Milf. She's like
Spider Mom. It's not. It's not.
Oh
Milf.
yeah, that's right. I'm sorry, that's a fan edit. The Spider Milf thing was still pretty funny though, because I'm like, it's not wrong. But when they call her Spider Mom, and she's like, that is accurate.
But the whole time, Peter and Annie are arguing because Peter got a job teaching in her school, and she's like, "What?"
Yeah, because Annie just is so embarrassed by her dad, which is weird because like one of the things I like about Annie that makes her so different from Mayday is like Mayday takes more after her mother, Annie takes more after Peter. Although both his children hate wheat cakes. Yeah, like I said, that's pretty hot.
Again, it's basically Sarah's outfit minus the white.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, it's the one thing I will like is that so basically, as I mentioned, there was a time jump.
Yeah,
what they
'cause
did was
they
they
age
first,
up.
yeah, they jumped like 5 years into the future after the one volume of Renew Your Vows, so that Annie is basically like 15. So
Yeah.
she's basically May's age. And she gets a different costume, which I actually like her second costume
I mean, to be
more.
fair, I liked her I liked the little cutesy costume she was in, but like that's not a bad costume.
I like how it's inverted, you know.
Yeah, my complaint with that is it's the same thing they did with Superman's kid Jonathan. Like we can't just have him be like a cute little superhero. We have to age them up so they can be angsty fucking teenagers. Although to be fair, I don't think Annie's that angsty.
No, she's not.
But I like Annie because she kind of has the Kane a bit thing where her powers are kind of like souped up. Not so much her other powers, but mainly her spider sense has the ability to see into the future like Kane's.
She basically has Kane's powers.
Which I think had something to do with Spider-Verse, but or Spider-Geddon rather. But like I said, I like Annie. I like the whole concept of Renew Your Vows where Peter, Annie, and MJ were like this superhero team. Sadly, which I think is no more. I kind of hope, because I think they're kind of hinting at they're going to do a Spider-Verse 3 soon. I at least hope we get to see them together again.
Because they did a Spider-Verse mini recently that had Annie in it.
Well, that I think what they're
it's the way she's drawn. She's definitely a little older now.
Well, I think what they're planning to do is they're going to have like Spider-Verse versus Venomverse. Because let's be honest, with the fact that you have a Venomverse, we all know they're gonna like make the Venomverse and the Spider-Verse fight. Like it's the only thing that makes sense to me, especially now that Morloon's back in the regular titles.
Sadly, like from knowing the fandom, there seems to be a little bit of like. I think it was a lot more prevalent when Renew Your Vows first published.
Yeah.
That there was a lot of animosity towards Annie because it wasn't May.
Yeah.
Which I got.
But at the same time, I think it's unfair.
I was like that at first, and then like I read Renew Your Vows, and like I really like Annie.
Yeah, like
because it's not like they did May, but they gave her a different name. Like she's a completely different character, and I think it works.
And like I said, I like the fact that like they both take different personality pics from their parents.
And one of my favorite things was during Spider-Geddon, there was a 3-issue mini called Spider Girls, which was basically. May, Aranya, and Annie all teaming up to kind of try to get a weapon to basically fight off the Inheritors, which led into revealing that Annie is the web weaver, basically.
I was about to say because I know she has like superpowers,
which was a big reason why she was in the most recent Spider-Verse mini, but there's a really nice moment because earlier in Renew Your Vows they had mentioned that they had brought up like the miscarriage because they actually acknowledged it for once, which it was really touching because it was just.
Well, I was going to say
what happened.
They only just recently in Renew Your Vows at that point revealed that May had existed in some facet in the Renew Your Vows universe because like she talks to Annie about her miscarriage.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about this scene.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was in
that's
like
the same thing.
Okay, I'm sorry.
But it's basically revealed that like, Mary Jane takes Annie to Ben's grave, basically, because Riley has a grave in that.
Which is weird, because I'm like, I mean, I know that they had a funeral for him, but I'm like...
Yeah, he has a grave, basically. And so Mary Jane kind of just explains what happened, and she mentions to Annie that, like, I had another daughter and we lost her, so... which gets later mentioned again in Spider-Girls, because when Mayday shows up...
Yeah.
She basically takes off her mask and is like, my name is May Parker, and, like, my parents call me Mayday. It's like, MJ and Peter in that universe, like... It kind of takes them aback. They show Mary Jane, like, off by herself, basically, and to which Annie kind of comes up to her and is like, are you okay? And she's like, I need a minute. Yeah. To which Annie responds, was her name May too? And to which Mary Jane says yes. So I really like that moment, and, like, I wish they had kind of followed up on it a little more, because obviously, like, I feel like they could have done a little more with that if it was like a longer mini. I feel like they would have. Yeah. They do mention it again later at the end of Spider-Girls when they're getting ready to leave, and basically Annie mentions to May that, like, I know you're not her, but I had a sister also named May in this universe, and it's nice to know that if she had lived, she would have been a hero like you. So it's a very cute and, like, touching moment. I'm really glad they did it.
Yeah. Briefly before we do Arania, let's talk about, like, some of the other children of Spider-Man, like, mostly because I want to kind of bring up Life Story, because they do bring up some kids there. We won't talk too much because there's not much to them.
You forgot Benji.
Well, I was going to get to...
Oh, okay, because Benji's also...
Yeah, that's what I meant when I said, like, other Spider kids. Benji is the brother of Mayday from the MC2 universe. Basically, Peter and MJ fooled around, apparently, at some point in their 40s, and MJ got pregnant again. I only say that because, it was really touch and go with, because, like, a woman at that age, a pregnancy is...
To which the doctor even mentioned to Mary Jane, like, you guys might want to consider, like, having an abortion.
Yeah.
There's no guarantee.
Yeah.
To which they even mention it, and, like, Peter even tells Mary Jane, like, you don't have to. Like, please, like, don't feel like you have to.
But then
to which Mary Jane's like, I was always led to believe that, like, family is worth fighting for. So, like, basically telling Peter, like, pretty sound, like, we're gonna go ahead and whatever happens.
Because I remember Mayday rushes to the hospital because, like, it's very typical Parker fashion. Mayday's trying to get to the hospital. A supervillain shows up, very Peter Parker, and she gets there, and Peter's like has his back to her, and, like, it looks like he's sobbing, and, like, Mayday's like, oh my God, mom lost the baby, or, like, mom and the baby died. And then Peter turns around and he's like, oh my God, Mayday, I'm sorry, no, your mom and your little brother are fine. I've just had a day, because I just became a father again, and it was scary. Yeah, especially because I think doesn't, like, Peter's blood cause kind of like a similar thing to what happened to Aunt May during the Master Splinter arc? And
I don't remember that happening. Okay. I'd have to go back and look.
I couldn't remember if they did that or not. But basically,
I don't think they did.
At first it seems like Benji's pretty normal. He's a cute little baby. Mayday absolutely adores him.
Peter dresses him up in Spider-Man onesies.
Well,
which is cute as fuck.
Which is cute, but, like, at the same time, I'm like, Peter, could you not be more on the fucking nose? But, and so basically one day Mayday is babysitting Benji for, and of course we all know who he's named after. It's pretty obvious. Benji starts walking on the walls. And Mayday's like, because Mayday's powers didn't develop until she was 15.
Well, and May doesn't mention it to anybody.
Because, like, MJ's like, I want one normal kid. I want one normal kid, Peter.
Well, and it's even mentioned that May just doesn't even know if what she saw was right.
Yeah. But eventually it's revealed to everybody he's got superpowers when Norman comes back during the MC2 and pushes MJ off a bridge because
the bridge. Well, because of course the fucking bridge. It's the same bridge that Normie tried to fight Peter at in the first issue. Because it's that fucking bridge. It always has to be that bridge.
Fucking bridge. But basically, as MJ has Benji in her arms, she apologized to Benji like, I'm sorry I couldn't protect you. And then all of a sudden webs come out of Benji's wrists because he's got organic web shooters. Because I think around the time that was being written, the other was happening.
Yeah.
So I think they kind of wanted to imply that Benji might be the other.
Well, in the Raimi films, it also happens,
Yeah,
so
the
they
Raimi
obviously
films.
reference those, which I'm fine with. I know a lot of people don't like organic webbing, but I'm like, I like it.
Well,
It's
then,
cool.
I'm not against the idea that like Peter's children would have like variations on his ability because like his power's a mutation.
Well, it's kind of like there's different things. Like May, I think, has probably the most similar to Peter's powers, whereas like Benji has the organic webbing,
Yeah.
and then Annie has the premonition.
Okay, so we're not going to talk about the J. Abrams Spider-Man story with that kid because fuck that story.
That story doesn't exist. I don't care.
But the story Spider-Man life story gives Peter 2 more children.
Which is weird because one of them is Benji, and he's basically Benji from.
But
Then they give Peter, because basically Mary Jane has twins while Peter is off during Secret Wars at Battle World.
Yeah.
And you would think, oh, it's Benji and Mayday. No, it's Benji and Claire. It's
Yeah.
another daughter.
Okay,
Which,
I
she
thought-
looks exactly like fucking Mayday.
Except that like in
Same
this,
haircut and everything. The
Yeah.
only difference is she has the ultimate
yeah,
Jessica
the
Drew
ultimate
outfit.
Jessica Drew Spider-Woman outfit for some
It's
reason.
just fucking weird. I don't know why they didn't just use May.
I think because they wanted to like give this universe its own flair,
Which-
except the fact that they used
Fine, and
this
it's
costume.
just, it's very jarring, and it's like,
Yeah.
you can obviously tell that it's supposed to be May
Yeah,
because
but
they look the same.
Yeah.
They act the
The
same.
Yeah, but I thought they gave Ben a different name. I thought his name was
No,
Chris, but I'm
his
thinking
name
of
is Benji.
Okay. No, that's fine. I probably was mixing
You're
up.
probably thinking of that shit Abrams story,
Yeah,
which we're gonna have to review at some point.
I've never read it, and I kind of don't
I
want to.
have the
but
first issue. It's not very good. It's
But
not
like I
very
said,
good.
apologies. There's so many kids. I kind of they all get jumbled together. We don't really have to talk too much about them. They're basically just there to be
Yeah.
a part of the life story thing. It's just Peter grows up, he gets married, he has kids. Technically, he gets married twice in that story, but that's not here nor there.
So let's dive into Aranya real quick and then wrap this up because we're already at an hour
Yeah.
and 15 minutes.
We'll probably do a part 2 of this because there's a lot of other characters.
Let's
we
just
want
do
to
a
talk
part 2 then. I think ending on life story would probably be a good way.
Yeah.
Let's save the others for another video.
Well, let's at least do Aranya because she's the other Spider Girl.
Fair.
We'll,
that.
we'll end with her. It's only fair, and then we'll talk about like the other multiverse stuff later. So I don't know a lot about Aranya, other than she's South American or Latin American. Basically, she was a fan of Spider-Man. I forget what exactly the story was about, but basically, she dons like this spider-themed outfit. She actually doesn't have superpowers originally. Later, I think she does get superpowers, and she and this group of kids that she discusses with online create like this group of spider characters, themed heroes that fight bad guys. And later on, she eventually meets Peter, and Peter kind of approves of her using her like his spider symbol as that character. Later on, she would actually become the new Spider-Girl, and technically the official 616 Spider-Girl. Basically, after the death of Maddie Franklin and Julia Carpenter giving up her role as Spider-Woman, Julia gives Aranya her Spider-Woman costume, and it somehow magically fits her. Despite the fact that Julia is much taller than Aranya and has different body proportions. I guess because it's probably made out of unstable molecules, it somehow manages to fit Aranya. And so Aranya kind of becomes Spider-Girl for a while. And sadly, I've not read a lot of Aranya's title as Spider-Girl. I mainly know stuff about it from, again, reading the Spider-Man crawl space when it was happening. And I really like the story of Aranya because she doesn't want to be called Spider-Girl at first because she's like, I'm not a girl.
Yeah.
But then she eventually comes to accept the mantle, and she has her own stories. Mainly in like stuff like Into the Spider-Verse and like Spider-Girls, like you talked about. So if you want, you can talk a little bit about that.
It's funny. She's like she and May have like an old married couple relationship.
Yeah, which is why I think you and I shipped them for a while.
A lot of people do.
Yeah, which makes sense, because Mayday was dating like a Latina guy named the Black Tarantula, and it was kind of messed up. But like she clearly still has like a thing for that, and so
Yeah. So.
she just
I admittedly haven't read much beyond Spider-Girls with Aranya in it. I'm hoping to fix that because this month they're releasing a trade, which I told you about, which is her early stuff, which I do want to read.
I might have to borrow that off you because I kind of want to. I'm curious about it.
Yeah, so I'll have to go on Amazon and see how much it is and just get it pre-ordered. That way it ships.
But yeah, it's kind of funny how much there's all these different characters when Spider-Man used to be like a loner.
Yeah.
And then like it kind of branched out.
It's kind of like Batman almost.
Yeah.
In that regard.
Yeah. Although admittedly, I think the Spider-Man family kind of was forced a little bit at first, but I think it's kind of surprisingly worked out. And not only that, like Peter is still, it makes sense why he isn't always with other characters. Crap, we forgot to do Miles in this.
We'll do him next.
We'll do
him
him
next time.
especially because he was originally a multiverse character.
Well, I think a lot of people are familiar with Miles, so
Yeah,
let's
you're
save
familiar
that
with
for another
Miles.
one. I think we covered a lot of obscure characters.
Yeah, we did. But yeah, like it's kind of funny how many children Peter has, despite the fact Marvel's like, no, Peter can't have kids; he'll get too old. But I think it was kind of interesting just how many ways they've like had Peter have a family, how hilariously they all end up him married to Mary Jane. And it was kind of cool talking about Spider-Woman because I don't think there's going to be ever any other time we talk about them.
Yeah, and we could still talk about Mayday 2 next episode because I forgot Earth X, which we might have to talk about because that counts. We forgot.
Yeah, we're going to have to talk about Earth X.
Earth X.
To be fair, like everybody forgets Earth X. But yeah, so anyway, guys, that's our first talk on the Spider People. We're definitely going to do his part 2. I don't know if it's going to be this year's Spider-Miss. It might be because I don't know if we'll have time to review a lot more books or other things. Because next episode, just to give you guys a little bit of a hint, we're going to be talking about some other media that Spider-Man's been in, animated series. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Tell us what you think about these characters in the comments. Like, comment, subscribe, smash that like button. Can this video get 500 views? Smash that like button. And if you do, I'll let Colton talk more about Spider-Girl again.
Part 2.
Part 2. We don't talk about any other Spider character. We just talk about different versions of Mayday.
So,
But anyway, guys.
I'm Average Joe Squad.
I'm Zargetsu 134.
And as always, we're going to ask you,
Remember the hyphen?
and take care.